fucking cool.
Women are so fucking cool.
Hey, thanks so much for coming on and listening to the Women Are So Fucking Cool podcast. It's a presentation production of the FCW Society. And the FCW Society is a society that respects, encourages, and celebrates all people and celebrates the fact that women are so fucking cool. And we spread information and resources about the power of feminist policy in our world and our government and our community. So I am Joanne Morton, and I have always known fucking cool women. And in early 2090s, I made a film called Women Are So Fucking Cool. And this is the first episode of the newly revised podcast. And I'm excited to be sharing some fucking cool women over the next few weeks, months, years, for as long as this podcast lasts. And I'm just really excited and awe. So I have been interviewing women, and it's one of the very cool things about this project. I get to talk to so many fucking cool women and really get to hear new insight and old insight in a new way. And every single woman is just doing amazing work, and which is one of the reasons why we want to do this podcast, is we want to share the work that so many women do to inspire everyone to take action, inspired action to uplift each other. And we do that by respecting all people, encouraging all people, and celebrating all people. And today, the first guest that I have, the first FCW that I had I'm sharing is Cyd Ahlberg. And I have known Cyd for a few years here in Savannah, Georgia. I first met her when I went to a Stacey Abrams event when she was running for governor, and Cyd was facilitating this art class. All the people in this workshop, this event, were painting pictures of Stacey Abrams, and I ended up giving mine away to this woman who liked it. So it was really kind of fun. And I got her phone number and emailed that night because she was really fucking cool. And since then, we have collaborated on a few events that I've worked on and she's worked on, and we've stayed in touch. And I follow her on Facebook. She's CJ Giovanni, because of the Nikki Giovanni poet. If you don't know her, she's a fucking cool one. So she's doing the work of 21st century Giovanni and sharing poetry and spoken word that really uplifts everyone. And I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation that we had. She shares about the women that inspired her and the really important conversation about how we need to evolve and have an open mind and heart, and how we see people and trust their definitions of their identity. So I really felt really moved and got some new insight for myself on this conversation. So I hope you do too. And I like to end the conversations in a dramatic way. That's all I'm going to say. So as I work on this podcast, I'm going to be evolving and changing the way I edit it. So I hope you really enjoy this conversation as much as I do. And if you'd like to find out more, you can go to my website, fcwsociety.com. I have a Substack and a Patreon, and I look forward to meeting and sharing more fucking cool women with the world. And here we go. Here's Cyd. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I get to talk to another fucking cool woman. Yes. And today I have a really fucking cool woman that I've known for a couple of years here in Savannah. And I'm so grateful that our paths crossed and that we get to continue to inspire each other. And it's Cyd. Hello, Cyd. Hello.
Hi.
So just to jump right in, because I want to just hear what you have to say. The question I like to ask, my first question is, what is a fucking cool woman to you?
That's a great question. To me, womanhood is so expansive. It's a spectrum of itself. So when I look at womanhood, like I identify as a non-binary woman. So I understand my womanhood, but I also understand there's a plus and other things that come with womanhood. But my experience as a woman has been like the most amazing thing, especially as a Black woman, because Black women are so powerful. Like we literally, all of this would not exist without us. So that's what I really pin down to a fucking cool woman. All of the women who've helped shape me, build me, teach me, the women that I've learned from in my life have just been so cool, like so awesome. And not just on like what they've accomplished, but just who they are. They're strong, they're intelligent, they're powerful just by being themselves and just being here.
I like that. And I agree with you 100%. There is a power to Black women that is undeniable, undeniable. And I might edit this out, but I just want to share something with you that I was thinking about recently, is all humans come from the same race. I'm so done with this we're human beings. There is no race,
Right.
there's skin tone, you know?
Right.
So going back to that statement you just said, Black women. So we all came from that area of North Africa, that there's a whole area that the beginning of man is scientific proof. So Black women are the mothers of all of us. Those first
Yeah.
couple of women that start
Yeah.
procreating, having babies, and then their babies, and then their babies, and then eventually skin tone changed a bit, but we all come from Black women, birthed from Black
Correct.
women. And
Right.
and as women, we all have that power of giving life, whether you have activated that egg or not, there's that energy inside of us. And so adding that extra level of the, the mother of all humanity, that's a lot of energy,
Right.
and to tap
Right.
into that. So there is,
Yeah, and we also we can't forget trans women as well. Whether or not they physically give birth, they're giving birth to ideas, movements. Like when you look at the queer liberation movement, that was the birth of trans women. Like we would not have that without trans women. Like none of like Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, like we wouldn't have any of that without trans women. So women, we give birth to literally everything that is great in the world.
oh my God, so true. It's so true. It's so true that birth, it's not about birthing a baby. It's about birthing you, and that baby's
Right.
a part of you, but it doesn't have to be a physical human being baby.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Birthing ideas, birthing greatness, just moving
Yeah.
like anything to move us forward.
That's a really interesting concept too, how it does move us forward when we allow ourselves to have new ideas, birthing new
Yeah,
ideas. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And every birth is something new.
yeah. And if it's not like something completely new, it's in addition to what already exists.
It's an added element.
It's yeah,
It's a new
it's all about
element to something. Yeah.
it's evolution. Everything is evolution.
Maybe so now I'd like you just sort of to share some of the women that you think are fucking cool, and maybe even highlighting some of their characteristics that they might have. Because I like what you were
Yeah.
saying about who they are. And that really does, it's a very interesting to hear like who people are and how being who you are really does affect the people in your life.
Oh, absolutely. So first, I have to start with my grandmother. I never knew her. She passed away before I was born. But just the way people talk about her and the pictures I see of her, like everything that I have on earth that's a remnant of her is full of joy, is full of beauty, is full of love, is full of empathy. So that just tells me what kind of woman she was. And then the kind of woman that my mother is just, it really puts into perspective like how being the kind of woman you are affects your entire lineage. That's your legacy. Because she comes from a powerful woman, and my mom is like one of the sweetest, kindest, super artistic. You think I'm artistic? I get like my mom is incredible. She's a painter, she's a poet. Like she does it all, and I wouldn't be here of course, physically without her, but literally without her, because she's allowed me the space and the time to figure myself out, to figure out what I would like to do. In a society where people are like, you have to survive, you have to survive, you can't live off art. And my mom was like, if you can make it work, go make it work, and I'll support you. And her mother did that to her as well. So that's the kind of lineage I come from, of like just cool women. And I have aunts who are also just as cool. They're always supporting, always like coming down for my performances and things like that. So my family alone is just like full of cool women. And then when you get into like the more widely known women, Polly Murray is one of my favorites. They were a activist. Uh, by looking at their records, some speculate they were trans, but they also identify with their womanhood because they knew like that's how the world perceived them. And that's a lot of when I explored and found their works and found their interviews and realized who they were about a couple years ago. I was like, oh, I see myself in them. Like this is me. They were an activist, a priest, a lawyer, a poet. They did all of this stuff and made a huge difference. There's actually a documentary called My Name is Polly Murray that you should check out. That talks all about them more in more depth and more detail than I ever could. But they were a foundational person that I found to be just absolutely cool. And then, of course, my favorite poet, CJ Giovanni, who I had the honor of meeting twice before she passed. Like, just cool because she wasn't afraid to speak her mind. She wasn't afraid to put her poems in plain English and say, hey, it doesn't have to be all this kind of fluff. I can talk to you regular, and you're still going to get the sense of poetry, and you're going to get the metaphors, and you're going to get everything that a poem is, but I'm going to speak to you in my language, and you're going to get that. So she's another strong, powerful woman that I look up to. And there's just so many. I could rattle off so many because honestly, the older I get, the more I look back and I'm like, wow, I was really raised, if not directly, but like raised by just cool women. And shout out to one of my faves, another one of my faves, Janelle Monáe, who also came out as non-binary. Um, she has been like the catalyst to my younger self when I was coming up in the art world. Like she literally told me like, "Cyd, you're talented," and I was just like, "Okay, cool." Like I appreciate that. I've been interviewed by her. I've built this kind of relationship with her, and seeing her be so carefree and be so open about who she is and how she's discovering who she is and the different layers of who she is, it inspires me.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I would like for you, I really would like for to hear what you have to say, and because I respect you a lot about this, and it's really how to bring in the word inclusive and FCW fucking woman, because people have said, what is it, a woman, what is, that language, that's the definition of, it means different things, it can mean different things, whatever.
Right.
But I really do I do believe I do believe there is power in the womanhood, but you talked about, I love my womanhood. There is something about it, but I'm also I do understand that what person experiences womanhood, it doesn't have, I mean, I'm not going to say, just as I can't say, oh, she's a fucking woman and she's not a fucking cool woman, but you're like, oh, but she is a fucking woman. Well, I'm like, well, then if you say she's a fucking cool woman, then she's a fucking cool woman, because who am I to say who the fucking cool women are? I am not, I'm not that person. And so just in that way, I want to give people space, because I understand what it feels like to be in my body and what it feels like to be me. And there's no way I have any comprehension of what other people feel. So I'm going to respect their feelings. I'm going to encourage their feelings. I am going to celebrate their feelings, because that gives them permission to be them, to be their fucking coolest. And so I really would like to get your perspective, because you are a different demographic of age, to give some insight on how important it is to, as a fucking cool society, to respect whoever identifies as FCW.
Yeah, it what it all boils down to is education, how you educate yourself and how you see the world. Because we grow up and we're told that girls are this certain characteristics. Boys are these certain characteristics. And if you're anything in between or outside of the scope of any of that, it's bad, it's wrong, it doesn't exist. But there are plenty of proof that it in fact does exist. And there's so much overlap. And now we're in an age where everybody recognizes that this whole gender thing is a spectrum. Like, even when people try to walk it back to biology, it's not as clear cut as people believe. Because, and not to go on a tangent here, but like when people start talking about trans people and who is not a woman based on how they identify, they erase intersex people because they in fact exist, and they don't have the opportunity to quote unquote choose what they want to be because they come into this world biologically a certain way, and then the world perceives them to be another thing. So it's just about, I would say, just about being open-minded. If someone tells you, hey, this is how I feel, this is how I identify, you have to honor that, because who are you to tell somebody like what they feel and how they identify? You, and I also don't like when people say, I disagree with your identity or like your experience of what, you can't disagree with how someone exists, like with someone's existence. It just doesn't work that way. And the sooner we realize that, when we start to understand how we're more alike than we are different, and how all of these constructs are meant to pull us apart, is the quicker we'll be like, okay, we're just all one community. Like, everybody needs everybody. We can't exist in bubbles because bubbles pop and they don't survive. Like, so this whole idea of being a woman, like, if you feel into your feminine energy, you're a woman. If that's how you feel. If you say, hey, I'm a woman, I have to honor that.
Yeah. Because if you identify as a woman, especially a Black and woman, then I'm gonna know that you respect and celebrate and encourage each other. And that's what I want. I can't imagine. And if you don't always
Right.
like I'm a big believer, once you start putting up that positive energy vibe, that you boom, people who don't get it don't stick around for too long.
Right.
No.
And I've also thought about, all right, so when you look at society, we live in a patriarchal society. Like, everything's ran by men. Obviously, we see that oftentimes because women have, like, on the totem pole of everything, women are at the bottom, and then you have the racial divides, and you have the economic divides and all of that. And it's like, if someone chooses to identify as a woman, which is like one of the lowest on the totem pole of this whole system, why wouldn't you honor that? It's like, I'm choosing it to live in my truth and be who I truly feel that I am. And it's actually not beneficial to me when you look at the grand scheme of everything. Like, I'm choosing to struggle. Like, if you boil it down to that, in that simplicity. I mean, because women are so cool. Like, we're cool. I would choose being a woman, like, every time.
Yeah.
But it's just like, why are we fighting so hard to tell people who they are and who they aren't, when, like, they know more than anybody else?
Yeah. Yeah. Trust the women. Just trust us.
Because at the end of the day, even when people like talk about women, and when you take us out of the equation, everyone's looking for us. Like,
Yeah.
who's doing the work? Who's doing the work? Women are so fucking cool. I'm a fucking cool woman.